Hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Dr. Mark Foster Show. Today I am going to speak on the subjects of evolution and creation. The primary thing that I will be doing is demonstrating why, in my view, creation and evolution are two largely independent subjects. There is no real relationship, except on the most superficial level, between creation and evolution. I gave a presentation on this subject perhaps 15-20 years ago at a meeting of the Association for Bahá'í Studies. At the time, my view was perhaps a bit unusual, even in some cases a bit controversial. Then, several years ago, the Universal House of Justice came out with a new edition of the book Some Answered Questions, which is a collection of table talks made by Abdu'l-Baha, the son of the prophet founder of the Bahá'í Faith, Baha'u'llah. In that introduction, which I assume was approved by the Universal House of Justice, the author of that introduction basically said something quite similar to the points I developed in that presentation at the Association for Baha'i Studies. So what I will be doing now is giving a kind of an overview of what I said in that presentation, combined with some additional understandings I have developed as a result of the study, a study of the Baha'i texts on those subjects. First, creation. Creation, as I understand it, is a model of the relationship between God and existence, or more specifically, God and the realms or worlds of existence. All the worlds of existence, in my view, may be considered as enfolded within other worlds. So, for example, the mineral world or kingdom is enfolded within the vegetable kingdom. The vegetable kingdom is enfolded within the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom is enfolded within the human kingdom, and the human kingdom is enfolded within the spiritual kingdom. In other words, the higher conditions have all the qualities or attributes of the one or ones that are below it, plus some additional ones. When one gets to the highest level, one reaches the essence of God, who is described in the Baha'i teachings as the innermost essence of all things. So higher means within, in my view. That is, to me, what creation is. Creation is a process of emanation, where things emanate outward from God, and so it is a kind of enfoldment, a process of enfoldment or enfolding that produces what we think of as the worlds of creation and the beings which inhabit those worlds. Now, evolution. Evolution is a controversial subject in some quarters. As a sociology professor, I will commonly begin my discussion of science by talking about evolution. And what I do is I talk about theory, and I try to illustrate the difference between the common everyday use of theory and the way in which theory is used generally by scientists. Most people use the word theory to mean something like an opinion, and so people will say things like, everyone has their own theory, or who's to say which theory is better. That is not the way scientists use the word theory. Scientists use the word theory to mean scientific explanation. From a scientific perspective, theory is the highest level of science. So, for example, if you take Isaac Newton's theory, which is called mechanistic physics or Newtonian physics. Newtonian or mechanistic physics is the name given to Isaac Newton's theory of physics. Now, within that theory, you have various laws, such as the first and second laws of thermodynamics and the law of inertia. The law of inertia, that an object in motion stays in motion unless it is repelled by another force. Those laws exist within the theory of mechanistic physics. So theory actually is the highest level of science. The whole point of doing scientific research, including in my own field of sociology, is to develop theory. So we regard theory as the ultimate goal in science, not as some preliminary stage that you are at in the process of coming to something higher. There is nothing higher than theory, and in the way in which most scientists view it. That said, evolution is theory in a scientific sense. That means that it is a very well developed explanation, which in a modern sense was originated by Charles Darwin. Now, there were some pre-Darwinian approaches to evolution as well. Darwin very convincingly demonstrated how some of them could not withstand scientific research. And so even modern day evolution, which is much more advanced than anything that Darwin could possibly conceive of, is still based on very similar principles that were developed by Charles Darwin. Modern evolution is commonly called the modern evolutionary synthesis. Evolution is based primarily on genetics, not on paleontology or fossils, the study of fossils. Darwin was a paleontologist. He was not a biologist. He was not a geneticist. He traveled around the world collecting fossils. Now, many people, when they are trying to quote-unquote debunk evolution, will point out that there are gaps in the fossil record. Well, of course, there are gaps in every record. There are gaps in the historical record. All records have gaps. That does not mean that evolution is not true. I wonder sometimes why creationists will pick the gap in fossils as a supposed argument against evolution. In some cases, I would assume it is simple lack of knowledge of what evolution is. In other cases, I assume it is basically an argumentative or a polemic device, and that the person really knows better, but is simply trying to make a point or convince someone of the validity of so-called scientific creationism. So, here is how I personally understand creation and evolution, more specifically evolution, from the standpoint of the Bahá'í teachings. Again, my own understanding. To me, evolution means that the human spirit, which refers to the attributes of humanity. There is only one human spirit. There are not many human spirits. We are all participants or partakers of that one human spirit. That one human spirit has always existed. That is, in a sense, the essence of what it means to be a human being. Even before there was a being who could be called human, there was still that human spirit. There were still those attributes that existed that made a person a human being. Whenever a being reaches a point at which that being can manifest the human spirit or the human attributes, that being becomes a human being. So being a human being means that a person is capable of reflecting or expressing the human spirit. The human spirit, which refers to the rational soul, or the power of thinking, the power of imagining, the power of understanding, and the power of memory. That is the human spirit, and it is more than that as well. It is the coordination of bodily functions. It is the power of reflection and meditation. All of the things which are distinctive attributes of human beings and which separate us as human beings from other animals. So the idea of evolution, in my view, is the appearance of beings which are capable of manifesting the human spirit. So conceivably, and I don't know this is just a possibility, conceivably in the future, additional beings that we might not even conceive of, might end up becoming human beings, meaning they might end up manifesting the human spirit. There is nothing special about the particular form that we have, the form of a Homo sapien sapien. It just so happens that because of the formation of our bodies, that we are capable of manifesting the human spirit. If another being in the future becomes capable of manifesting that spirit, then it too might become a human being. That concludes my presentation on creation and evolution. I'll see you on the other side.